we're back online. Cause what the fuck was that? What the fuck? Oh, what the hell? Try again. Seriously, what the hell's going on? Fresh, fresh, fresh. Refresh. God damn it. Okay, we're back. God damn, I keep getting the same fucking videos. What the fuck? Male VTubers. Male VTubers. Tips on audio balancing and toxic friendships. Let's see what she says about male VTubers. Because, not a lot of people watch male VTubers, so let's see. Let's see. And hello, new viewers. Hello. Ugh, annoying. Annoying. Let's see. Okay.
To be a new series. I'm not sure if I should call it Mari Monday or Ask Mari Yume, but this weekly video series is going to be about me answering your questions with a little bit of a twist. This isn't a typical Q&A video because I find those videos to feel more like an interrogation. No, I thought we could just relax, have some fun, a little off-the-cuff conversation, which is why I'm going to be playing Kirby. So the first question is from Naniru, who technically didn't ask me directly, but it doesn't matter because it's a valid question that I wanted to include in this video. I have a question. Why are so many male VTuber models done with such a hella weird proportions? Like insanely tiny heads on way too wide big upper bodies. I just think it looks so odd. You know, I've always kind of...
Well, I haven't really watched too many male VTubers myself, so I'm guessing it has to do with sex appeal for some people. Does it gaze for the guy? Does it is it male gaze, female gaze? I don't fucking know.
Kind of wondered the same thing actually. Like, I don't know what it is, but in comparison to like female VTuber models, male VTuber models tend to not only have like a small head, but they have like a really long pointy chin. I don't know if it's just like an art style or I don't know. It has to be like a stylistic choice because I know it's possible to make male VTuber models that have similar proportions to how female VTuber models are made. I've made a couple of male avatars in my...
It has to be some kind of sex appeal type of thing. It's gotta be. I mean, it's the internet, you know. People are used to seeing weird proportions on the internet. You know, that's why people have a lot of body dysmorphia. But it is an anime character, so to be fair, it's not even a real person.
Lifetime here as a VTuber artist, but I feel like maybe the reason why there's not a lot of emphasis on the face is because the whole point of like guy avatars or male VTubers is like the body. I've noticed that seems to be a trend where the face will kind of look okay, but then they put a lot of emphasis on like the clothes, the hairstyle,
Like I said, it has to be something sexual, without a doubt. I mean, for me, I placed more important on the face than my own body as a male VTuber, because I just wanted a VTuber that looks cool, so I decided to go with tech wear, and I decided to go with this face because I like anime characters with silver hair. But yeah, I guess I don't fit into that realm of VTubers.
the hat, just pretty much everything else except the face. And especially if you have like a muscular character, I'm thinking it has to do with something like that, which looks fine in illustrations if that's all it is. But when it comes to like live 2D models and you actually have these parts moving around, it does seem kind of odd to see like a smaller head and like just facial features not really being that defined. Especially since for VTuber models, the majority of us are always shown our upper half body anyways, so you don't really see that much of the full body. Like I get it if they're like muscular and like wide.
I mean, unless you're like a VR chat streamer, then maybe it matters. But I personally, for me, I still think the face is the most important aspect. It's gonna be your most recognizable aspect about your VTuber, unless, like I said, you're a VR chat streamer, or unless you got a really good model overall. But I don't really care about that much.
But if they're just like normal size, then it is kind of jarring to look at. And I don't know. Again, I think it's just a stylistic choice because it is kind of weird to think about. Then again, drawing male VTuber models is actually really hard. Like, I always draw male VTuber models. Like, it's always male VTuber models for me. But From what, when I do my stuff, a lot of the guys that I draw, if they're not super muscular, they tend to be a bit more on the boyish side. So they look a lot younger. And I think that has to do with like the head size too, because if you make a more proportional head, then usually that's kind of associated with like the model looking a bit younger. Whereas if they have like a smaller head and more defined, like bigger body, then they seem older, more mature, and more masculine. That could also be a reason why a lot of artists choose to like kind of disproportionate that way as well.
Like I told you, it could be a sexual thing. But then again, a lot of males, whether that be from comic books or anime, if we're talking about the masculine figure, like, yeah, it's going to be a bit overdone. Certain aspects are going to be over exaggerated. You know, you got the V formation to make the character look more masculine. You got broader shoulders, wider, just a overall wider build, you know.
I'm wondering if there is a way to do like an equal balance between like a male VTuber head to like the rest of the body without overcompensating that super macho muscular look. There has to be a way. I've not really experimented with it. Maybe I should. It's a really good question. Now the next question is from Illum, who
All right, well, that's all I wanted to see about. Let's see what else we got. Our crumb let's see. It's not about men or bears. We already covered that topic already. VTuber. I don't want to keep watching how to be a VTuber stuff. I'm just gonna create and see what works, you know. I think people get into the trap whether it doesn't matter if you're a VTuber, but just being a content creator overall. I think we have a problem where there are too many people telling you, hey, you should do this or that when it comes to content creation, and then people get caught in the trap of just watching so much advice videos that they just simply forget to make content. And I know this seems meta, but my advice would be to just simply experiment and see what works, and then if something works, just continue at it. That's just life in general. It works in real life. Okay. Yeah, because like there was a time where I went down the self-improvement rabbit hole, but what happens is that a lot of people watch it and they just keep consuming that content without actually executing. So let's see. The art of conversation. How to talk to anyone, strangers. Okay, this is a video that I actually wanted to watch in a while because I had it in my watch later. So yeah, let's watch this.
Dawn Power Wash has 3 cleaning boosters not found in traditional dish soaps. It's more than soap, it's power wash.
Come on.
Does your mind go blank in the middle of a conversation? Does your social anxiety roll unexpectedly, like
Sometimes.
clouds on a sunny day? Does the thought of going to a party cause you to quickly spiral? If you said yes to any of these questions, you've clicked on the right video. Because today, I'm going to share with you how I tamed my social anxiety and how I can dive into a conversation, whether it's big or small. Let's begin.
Folks, I have a feeling that this is going to be a pretty lengthy video because today I'm going to be breaking down the art of conversation according to my head. It's evident that many of us are struggling with talking to people. Just from the sheer amount of views that my previous video got on talking to people, a lot of us are struggling with this. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some things that have helped my mindset so that I'm more comfortable talking to anyone that I meet. So before we get into all the tips and tricks, we have to establish a good foundation first. I gotta talk about the golden mindset I have before I enter any conversation or any social activity that I do. To quote Eckhart Tolle, you are neither inferior nor superior to anyone. So in other words, no one is above you,
I've heard
no
that
one is
before.
below you. Every person that you meet is on an equal playing field. And I know it's like something that we subconsciously do where we like size ourselves up with the people that we meet, but if we don't keep this in check, we're gonna either end up with an inferiority complex or a superiority
Get to the
complex.
point,
An
goddamn.
inferiority complex is essentially when you feel like someone is better than you. And inferiority comes in all different types of flavors. It could be someone who's more successful than you, someone's older than you, someone who's more beautiful, more followers, more intelligent. When you feel less than and when you're feeling insecure and you're feeling intimidated, you are not allowing your true self to shine. You're not giving yourself a fair chance to have people get to know who you truly are. And a superiority complex is when you feel like you are better than or more elevated than someone. It's an assumption that just because you're further along a certain path in your life or more knowledgeable about a certain topic, you feel like you can just dominate someone. You can come off smug, arrogant, a balancing act. So bottom line, recognize that no one is higher than you, no one is below you. And when you channel this energy, you give off grounded, calm, like I know myself energy. And ultimately, that's the kind of vibes that I'm looking for, and that's the kind of vibes that people are drawn to. And one huge way that I'm able to be more attuned with myself is through therapy. This is also when I want to take a quick minute to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video.
I knew I was gonna say BetterHelp. God damn it. I can't escape these fucking sponsorships and ads.
On going to therapy, whether you're going through like
Skip.
there are over 4 daunting, especially with therapy. You might be worrying about finding a therapist who's the right fit or you're
Come
select for
on.
you. They have over, I just love the schedule a time that works for you. And it's just like funny how no one bats an eye when we spend like hours of our time devoted to our physical health when it's just as important to carve
Okay,
out
I get it.
time
Mental health is
focusing
important.
on our
God
mental
damn.
therapist. Next up, let's go over some prep work. So this is kind of like a subconscious checklist that I have in my mind before I enter a conversation. First, I reflect on the things that are going on with my life, because chances are when you talk to someone, you're gonna receive the questions like, how are you? How was your week? What's been happening? What's new? And in the past, I would find myself like mildly irritated with these questions because I was like,
I hate small talk.
and sometimes my mind would just go
Yeah, but you know, when people are doing small talk, they're just trying to gauge your level of friendliness. So you gotta talk.
blank. But then I realized that it was up to me to do some reflection beforehand so I had something to say. So before you go out, ask yourself these questions. How are you? Like, how are you really? What happened during the week? This is where my journal and my calendar come in so clutch, because it's like a running inventory of the things I did, the ideas that I had, the things that I learned. And so I select maybe 3 or 4 items on that list and I just keep them stored in my mind. So that way
I mean, if someone asks me that question, yeah, like I do think about what's going on in life, but I give them a tidbit, not too much to be depressing, but just enough to continue a conversation that's going on in my life. That way you can have a genuine conversation. But try not to trauma dump.
way I am not flustered when someone asks me just a very simple question. And these highlights can look like anything. It could be something that I learned in a podcast or a book. It could be like, did I come back from a trip? Did I add a new regimen to my life? Was there something amusing that happened this week? Or did I have an aha moment? And so yeah, I just gather these things so that way I am prepared. And if you struggle with this and you don't journal, I highly recommend just trying out the activity of morning pages. This is when you get a notebook, big or small, and you fill out 3 pages every day. It doesn't need to be in the morning. But ever since I started this practice during lockdown, it has really helped me retain the information and the events that are happening in my life. And in these pages,
Okay, so I do have something to add to this. I hate to be the guy who interrupts, but I really want to share this. So when people tell you, how are you doing? There are 2 things you need to distinguish. Are they asking you how you are doing just as a way to say hello? Or are they asking you that question because they actually want to have a conversation with you? So context is key in this type of situation. Let's say, you know, you're passing by a friend and they say, how are you? They're absolutely asking how you are just to say hi. Well, let's say if you're hanging out with friends, or let's say you're in a networking type of event, then yeah, that's a space where it is appropriate to share what's going on in your life, because you're trying to, you know, gauge information, or you're trying to get information out of people who you could potentially work with, or if you're in a social situation, you're trying to gauge who you can be friends with. So whenever you're in those situations, yeah, you're being vulnerable, but it is a chance for a genuine conversation. So do be genuine when appropriate.
I would write about anything. It could be about my day, a conversation that I had, like a summary of an article that I read, like from news, health, science, tech, like anything. I just put it all on that page, and it just helps me create topics that I'm interested in. And the thing is, the more subjects that you are curious about, the more range of topics that you can discuss with other people. I feel like I should give like an example. So if someone asks me, "Hey Jen, how are you?" I'll be fairly honest. I'll be like, if I'm having a good week, I'll be like, oh, like I've been pretty good. I've been grounded, stable, just been in a good season in my life. I think it's because I've been getting like a large amount of sleep. Like I really cleaned up my sleep hygiene routine. I read that book, Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker, and it has just changed my life. Boom. Instantly, it gives the other person something to work with. You have sleeping, which is an activity that all of us do. You can ask about their sleeping routine, if they struggle, or if they also have read that book, or if they read another book. So it's the small talk is really just the foreplay of conversation, and from that, it splinters off to a bunch of different topics.
Exactly. Small talk is actually very, very important. So for those people who say they hate small talk, it's either that they just genuinely do not want to be bothered, or they just have bad social skills.
But honestly, sometimes I'll like have 3 or 4 highlights in my head and never bring them up because the conversation is just flowing naturally. This is just like a mechanism or a tool that I use to keep any anxious thoughts at bay because I know I'm prepared. So now I'm going to attempt on dissecting what conversation feels like for me. So when I'm in a conversation, I imagine myself as an ice picker, and I imagine the person that I'm speaking to as a mountain of snow. Each question I ask that person is like me ice picking off that mountain. Sometimes a little speck will come out, or a chunk of snow will come out. And sometimes if I'm at a really good flow, then an avalanche comes. And the snow is the information that you receive. If someone is significant to me and I want to remember what they say, that's me essentially making an effort to gather the snow, aka the information that they told me. That requires me to remember what they said in my heart and my head. And as you collect more snow, it becomes into a small snowball. And those are your acquaintances. And
This is why when you're having conversations with people, it is so important to listen and respond rather than, well, no, let me rephrase that. That's why when you're talking to people, it is important to listen to them. That way you can add something to the conversation of the topic you are talking about rather than listening to just simply respond. Because you never know where the conversation is going to go. And that way you can get more information.
And as you pick and gather more snow, it gets bigger and bigger, and those larger snowballs, those are your friends. And as you continue to pick and roll the snow, the snowballs become very large, and the big ones, those are your best friends. I really like this analogy when it comes to like friendships and conversation because it shows like the fluidity of everything. And if you leave something a little bit too long, it can end up melting. And for some people, it can melt faster. Others, you're just in Antarctica and it does not want to melt.
Excuse me.
I just wanted to say that analogy to set the stage on talking to different categories of people. Let's begin with talking with strangers because
Ooh, that's the toughest, cause okay, so the thing I struggle with is let's say you're at a networking event or a social event and there's already a group of people talking to each other, and you know they're on their flow, and you're someone who's new and you're trying to find a way how to get into that conversation, or you're trying to figure out how to introduce yourself, and at the same time you don't want to be rude. What's my solution to that? Drink. You could drink, and then sometimes what I'll do is I'll listen to the conversation from afar, and I'll listen to what they're saying, and then if a question pops up on their mind, I'll be like, "Hey, sorry, I heard you saying so and so. I don't mean to be rude, but could you explain more about this topic, blah blah blah," or something like that. And for the most part, they'll be pretty open to answering those questions and letting you be a part of that group. So it's it's really about trying to find icebreakers. Or let's say you make eye contact with someone at a networking event, social event, immediately introduce yourself, because if you don't, you're going to be in that game of like, hey, that guy's looking at me or I'm looking at them. Like, should I talk to them or should I not? So it's really about being the first one to step up. And in a lot of these networking and social events, they are just as nervous as you, so they're expecting you to start the conversation. So just keep that in mind.
Oddly enough, I find this category the most exciting because you don't know anything about this person. They don't know anything about you. It's a fresh start. And so I
Exactly.
am just excited to get on that mountain and see what comes out when I start picking. I also think I get this thrill because there's like this mysterious element. Like I truly
Oh, and just to give you more context, I'm talking about meeting people in real life, not Discord, guys. I'm talking about meeting people in real life.
believe that there is something to learn from everyone that we meet in our lives, and that really excites me. So when I enter a conversation, I think it's like my job to find something in common and find a connection. So when I want to talk to a stranger that I've never met, my go-to icebreaker is just to make an observation in the environment that we're currently in, because automatically that's something in common. So if we're at a bar, I'll be like, oh wow, this menu is pretty overwhelming. What'd you get? If I'm at a show,
Advertisements again. Skip.
I love this song. Have you seen this band before? If they're wearing a cool accessory. I love your earrings. Are they vintage? And the easiest one is if you're at a party and you know someone mutual, then you say, oh, so how do you know Veronica?
Yo, that's the one icebreaker I always use. Like, oh, how do you know this person? Or like, how do you know this person from this event? Blah blah blah. That's the one icebreaker I use a lot of the time. So I remember, going to a filmmakers party, and the person who hosted it I knew from another networking event. So sometimes when I'd go around asking people or like starting icebreakers with people, I would ask them, "Hey, how do you know so and so?" or like, "How do you know this party?" And they would tell me, and that's how the conversations would start. And then one topic leads to another.
I can go on and on, but I feel like this icebreaker is honestly just to test the waters to see if there's a vibe or not. And the
Exactly.
worst thing that can happen is they respond to you and they leave. And then you didn't lose anything anyway. Like you are probably never gonna see this person in your life. It's not like you lost someone like crucial in your life. Like you're exactly where you left off, and you got
Yeah, she's absolutely right. And sometimes if I'm talking to a new person and the vibes are not there, here's what I'll tell them. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's interesting. Well, I'm gonna go off and try to network with other people. Good luck to you. And then they'll say good luck to me, or they'll say, oh, me too. And then both of you can just walk off and actually talk to other people that you can vibe with. So rejection isn't always a bad thing.
got some more practice with your small talk. Because it's 100% a muscle. Talking to people is nothing but a muscle. The
Yeah, that's true.
more you do it, the better at it you become. However, if the person is engaged and is amused, then that's when you can like start asking questions and start picking the mountain. Everything that they say is an opportunity for a new topic that can be splintered. Pro tip is to ask questions that you are genuinely curious about.
Yeah, yep. Exactly what I said before. When you're having a conversation, listen to them, and if a question pops up in your mind, ask them that question.
Because when you have that like authentic like buzz of like, oh, I really want to know, that enthusiasm permeates the energy and it's like infectious. So again, this is where like prep work and checking in with yourself is really important, because then you kind of already know some topics that you're into. Discovering topics that
Oh, also, here's some advice. Like, let's say you finish talking to someone from a networking event. The next day, make sure you message them on social media saying, "Hey, blah blah blah. It was nice to meet you at so and so event." And then you could just go to, say, their Instagram account and just make a comment about something they recently posted and be like, "Hey, this is really dope work you made." Blah 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 blah. And you just try to stay in contact. If it's a person you want to stay in contact, live little tidbits of comments here and there and actually interact with them. That way you can foster a connection and you can maintain a relationship. Sometimes I struggle to do that, and I know it seems hypocritical that I'm giving that advice, but there are times I've done that, and I've made some really cool connections with people, and some of them I still work with today.
That you're really interested in really helps. So then you kind of have like buckets of categories that you feel comfortable talking about. So for me, I love talking about love, relationships, film, food, restaurants, tech, music, shows, current affairs.
Ooh, those are actually pretty good topics, you know? Everyone can get along talking about food, film, if you're in the film industry, love, oh god, if you're struggling, I guess. Music is a good one. Current affairs, if you're a political person. Shows, I love talking about shows, especially when I'm out, you know, talking about metal shows, bruh.
Memes, books.
And memes too, yes, that's important. Books, I don't really read books as much.
Like, and the more pillars that you have, the easier it is to connect. So it's like doubtful that I'd bring up topics like quantum physics or sailing because I don't know anything about them. But the thing is, I'm very open and eager for people to talk about whatever they want to talk about as well. Like, for example, like I met someone's dad and he was like a rheumatologist. And so we're just talking about like health and like studies that he found and what his patients are like. But the thing is with these questions, you want it to have a good flow. Like if you ask a question, give it some like space, like see where it wanders, see where it splinters. Like just random questions like, what kind of animal would you be? Like it can feel forced and trite. I would always start off with broad strokes first. Like, how was your week? How was your day? If you're at a party, where are you coming from? Opens up the door for the next topic. So if I ask someone, how was your day? And they respond by saying,
one of the great challenges in this field.
Yeah, I'm not paying a dime for YouTube Premium.
Good. Work was a little stressful. My commute is like pretty long.
oh, it was? Like, how long is your commute? An hour? So are you more of like a music or a podcast person while driving? And loop, you have an in. Suddenly you can talk about records they're listening to or podcasts they're listening to. Remember in conversation, if someone is not opening up, it is up to you to set the stage by opening up first.
Yep, she's absolutely right. Just like what I said, you have to be the person who steps up and starts the conversation.
And of course, conversation is always a two-way street. So if they want to talk about crafting, for example, like I personally don't craft, but I will try and find something that I am curious about it. So I'll ask them, oh, like, how'd you get started with crafting? What's the last thing that you created? What's your process? How long?
So basically, she's just talking about branching off onto different topics just by simply listening to someone. I already know this. Let's see.
I'm truly just listening to them. And
Yep.
when I trust that my brain is going to come up with an appropriate response, it usually does.
Yep.
That's enough. Like it makes
What about
acquaintances are not strangers and they're not friends. And I used to get really in my head about certain acquaintances because I would forget everything that we talked about in the past. And it was really embarrassing. I was not collecting the snow, if you will. So let's say there's an acquaintance where I'm like, I don't remember anything about this person. It's fine. Just go back to the stranger's equation, start with the small talk, like pretend that it's just like a brand new mountain. When I believe that there's a fresh start, I am just inherently better at it because I feel like I get to start again. But chances are with most acquaintances, I know at least like 2 or 3 facts about them in my Rolodex of information. Is this person in a relationship? Is this person single? Is this person in school? Do they have any siblings? Each one of these questions can branch out into a different topic. So if they're in a relationship, ask them how their partner are doing. Like, how did their partner and them meet? If they're single, ask them the last bad date they went on. If they're in school, ask them about a project that they're working on. If they have any siblings, ask them if they're like younger or older and if that like birthplace had any effect on their sense of development. I don't know. These are questions that I personally would like receiving, so that's why I ask them to other people. If you and an acquaintance are following each other on social media, that's also a really easy icebreaker because you can like look at their stories and ask them about that
that's
cafe
true.
they went to or that restaurant or how their friendship chemistry. Then, to be honest, I don't really have too much control with friends.
The last bits are like things I already know. I mean, the whole video is just things I already know, so. But I'm glad I watched the video though. So, let's see. I think I'm gonna end the stream right here because it's already 8. Start at 6, so I still have some other stuff to do. So, all I gotta say is, that is a wrap, and I'm out.